Welcome back to the Fox 25 Morning News. We are in Derry at Mary Ann's Diner, and of course the heavy hitters have stopped by because it's a Tuesday and it's presidential primary time. Peter Katchis of the Boston Phoenix, who was just recognized up here, by the way.
It was shocking.
Young kindergartner said, "Hi, Peter." I like that. That was good. Cosmo Macero of O'Neill Associates, a guy who we desperately tried to get into one of the poodle skirts that the waitresses wear here, but you weren't game.
A little snug. A little snug.
Rumor has it he's got the legs for it.
I'll let the rumor speak for itself. Yeah. No need to verify that one. Rumor has it Mitt Romney's going to win today. But before we talk about that, let's talk about what he said last night, Cosmo. What's the exact quote? "I like being able to fire people." Yeah. That's the key phrase within a bigger statement.
That's all that counts. That was a remarkably undisciplined moment for a very otherwise disciplined guy. And, his handlers in the aftermath, I thought, have done a pretty good job in not running away from the term fire. They're saying, no, he's talking about firing your insurance company. We all want to be able to fire the insurance company, your health insurer. Well, that's fine. Problem is, he can't step in that puddle first of all. So, a big mistake he made yesterday. They're doing a nice job with the best they can recovering. Shouldn't have made the mistake in the first place.
Well, I've changed my insurance provider a couple of times over the years. I've never fired them. I mean, isn't that the difference there, Peter? That only a guy who's done firing before would use that phrase.
Well, it's a difference with no distinction. I mean, look, it's not as bad as Howard Dean's meltdown in Iowa. But it's not good. And it's less, to me, it's less what he said than the relish with which he said it. This was a man who loved the idea of firing people. I'm not sure how much difference it'll make in this primary, but I think it's going to haunt him on the campaign trail.
You used to work for this newspaper, Cosmo. They got the headline as pressure. Are you surprised it doesn't say, "I like to fire people"?
I thought they might have the fire, "I'm in a firing mood," or something like that, some reference to that. But it is a pressure-filled day for Mitt Romney because he's got to do really well today.
With that being said, then what does he need to do, Peter? We've heard numbers, that 40% line. His people have sort of tamped that down and said no one gets 40% in a multi-candidate race.
40% would be close to a miracle. I would say that he needs to come in 15% higher than whoever is second. This is really a race for second place between Ron Paul, Huntsman, and Rick Santorum. 15% above number two.
What can happen is the bottom can't drop out today if by some means he dips below 30%, which no one really sees happening. Then the coverage turns completely negative for him, being weak going into South Carolina. So I think he's got to be in the 30s. I agree he probably won't hit that 40 mark, but he'll be somewhere in the 30s, I think.
Are you guys predicting a New Hampshire surprise for a second? A lot of talk about Huntsman gaining steam.
Well, I don't know. But I think I may stick with Ron Paul as the perennial favorite up here at 20%. I mean, I'm surprised at the lack of road signs I've seen up here. Frankly, the only person I've seen signs for are Romney. I saw 2 Huntsman and 1 Santorum.
Is this the most boring New Hampshire primary you've ever covered, Cosmo?
Everyone has their own purpose up here in New Hampshire. Gingrich is using it to beat the heck out of Romney with negative stuff. I just think there's not a lot of places for these other guys to go. Ron Paul reminds me of he's like the Admiral Stockdale of this campaign sometimes in those debates. So whether he comes in second or not, I think it's kind of irrelevant. They each have their own purpose up here, but it really looks like this should be the day for Romney.
I maintain that people do pick their candidates based on whether or not they want to have a beer with them, and I don't think anybody wants to have a beer with any of these guys, Peter. Does that help explain the lack of interest in this thing, or is it that South Carolina is just the key now?
South Carolina is the key. This is a warm-up for South Carolina. A strong Romney showing here, plus if he shows strongly in South Carolina, and the feeling is that the nomination will be his.
And there's a reason why I think Huntsman is going to be irrelevant, because it took Romney a whole presidential cycle last time around just to get in the position to be really competitive potentially in South Carolina. So I think that's going to be really important. Just one caveat that someone's got to issue. Let's not forget 4 years ago how everyone looked stupid because of Hillary Clinton. I don't see that happening today because of where the numbers are. But New Hampshire surprises can happen.
I just like a week ago how people would say, do we really want Iowa to pick our next president? But now everyone's comfortable with South Carolina doing it. Is that much of a step up?
Well, to me, it's even scarier, or just as scary as Iowa. To pick up on something that Cosmo said, Huntsman's really running for 2016, and Ron Paul is really running to try to start a movement.
Good luck with that.
And it'll just be interesting to see how Santorum, who is so socially conservative, conservative who was called out by high school students for his anti-gay positions. Yeah. It'll just be interesting to see how he does in the Northeast.
His politics aren't playing very well in New Hampshire. Santorum is probably, your beer phrase, your beer analogy, probably the most likable on the campaign trail of all these guys.
He wears a vest.
He wears a vest. He's kind of funny. He laughs at himself. But beneath that veneer, there's the, whoa, there's the social conservative that a lot of people just don't like.
Quickly, I got 15 seconds left, Cosmo. A couple of guys just asked you about this. You're a Patriot season ticket holder. You got any fears about Jesus coming to town this weekend?
John 3:16. No. I think the Tebow thing was really exciting. It was a great game, but I think the Patriots are going to deal with this guy very handily, and we'll be moving on to the AFC Championship.
Well done, gentlemen. If you want to do yourselves a favor, get the cherry pie waffle before you leave here at Marriott.
It sounds scrumptious, but my waistline will resist.
Waistline, not so scrumptious. Cosmo, Peter. Cindy, you knew he was going to do it. I'm sorry. You knew he was going to.